And I'm going to let Tammy start the recording when you have a second.
It is recording.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Lisa Nickel. I'm the interim dean of university libraries here, and I'm happy you all are interested in our faculty scholar. We've had great success. So I'm going to keep letting people in as we get going. So I'll start with the history of this faculty scholar position. We'll go through our PowerPoint, give you some information about expectations, and then we'll have questions at the end. But we created the faculty scholar position in 2016 to support a tenured William & Mary faculty member who was working full-time to advance an open educational resource. So far we've had things like open textbooks, digital exhibits, um, multimedia, oral histories, and we are trying to further library and institutional priorities. Um, so this person, whoever selected, can work with the library for up to 3 academic years. Um, so the person will work closely with librarians, they'll collaborate with librarians to advance new or existing research and make it openly accessible. We believe strongly in open access, so all the projects will be open access and be hosted by the library. This program gives the library the opportunity to practice emerging skills and areas of expertise being developed by our colleagues across campus, and being developed in academic libraries to support digital research. Excuse me. Additionally, you can read through these expectations. We'll talk a little bit about them, but the scholar supports the Dean of University Libraries, who we hope to have someone new in the fall, and the cabinet to advance faculty librarian partnerships, um, and to enhance collections, expand alumni relationships, and promote William & Mary libraries to multiple constituencies. Excuse me. So the person will be actively working here in the library for those times. This is not a sabbatical. I feel like I need to make it pretty clear. I think everyone understands it, but I don't want any confusion. So you would have an office here in the library, work in the library, work with colleagues in the library, but also help the dean of the libraries and the dean's cabinet work with the library board. We have a philanthropic board. In the past, we've had actually really good success with one of our first project actually starting a new endowment to support that project that continues to this day. But to work with alumni, with advancement, et cetera, like come talk about the library, learn about the library, and really be part of the team here. Let's see what else. So you would have an office in the library, collaborate with librarians and archivists, other library staff to make things happen. Let's see. Oh, and there's the opportunity to explore grants and external funding to advance your project. If there are additional ways, there's plenty of time while you're working here to do those kind of things. And we anticipate the timeline to be the first year is research and planning, the second year project development, and the third year project implementation. And Mary Oberlees, head of publishing and open access, can talk more about that in a second. We'll talk a little bit about the library support. So the person who's a successful scholar gets dedicated time to research and complete a project. Office space in the libraries. We're kind of the best place. We're a great place to work. Support for professional development. So far, that's looked like attending the Digital Humanities Summer Institute, as well as funding to hire a student assistant, software that you need, technology that you need, support to bring in specialized guest speakers and events held at the library related to the project. And you'll hear about that in a little bit when you hear more about the projects that we've already done. And you would have a dedicated librarian project manager and support from the head of publishing and open access, Mary Oberlees. We have worked so far with arts and sciences to fund replacement instructor for the time when you are on assignment here in the library. And let's see, what else? That's a lot. I'm going to turn it over to Mary Oberlees, who's the head of publishing and open access, to talk a little bit about the projects more generally. Mary, ready?
Yeah, okay. So we wanted to give you an idea of the different projects we have already had in place or are working through with our last three faculty scholars. Each faculty scholar has done something slightly different, but each one of them kind of has the same theme. So they are always open access. That means that anybody with internet access is going to be able to interact and use the materials that are created by this individual. They are hosted by the libraries, so we are able to work with people on creating websites, on creating digital exhibits, open textbooks, things like that. And they are really a partnership between the research that the faculty member is doing and then the skills and supports of the library. So I'm going to first turn it over to Jenny Putzi, our current faculty scholar, to talk about the digital humanities site that she is creating, focusing on Black women diarists from the 19th century. Jenny is going to give a brief overview, provide some information about like lessons learned, and give some ideas about like suggestions to anybody who's interested in applying, and anything that she would change now that she is on her final stretch of her project. So Jenny, go ahead.
It would help if I unmuted. Yeah. I'll just start by telling you all what Larry Lemus told me when I started, which is this is going to be the best thing that ever happens to you. This has been an amazing experience, and really, really great for this project, but also really great for me as a scholar and as like sort of a citizen on this campus. So my project was to develop a digital humanities site for a project that we're calling the Black Women's Diaries Project. And so we are locating, transcribing, annotating, and encoding diaries by Black women from about 1854 to 1903. This is going to be a long-term project, but we have worked on three over the 3 years that I've been here. So they're all in different stages of development. And the first diary will be released in the fall, probably in October of 2026. So that's within the last semester of my 3 years, although I'll be back to teaching in the fall. I have lots of thoughts, and I'll try to be sort of quick and concise about them. So in terms of applying for the position, I would say think short term and long term. Think about what you want to learn through those sort of three stages that Lisa talked about, research, development, and implementation. And I realize all those things really kind of run together, right? But be as clear about the different stages as you can. Do your research and talk to librarians. What Lisa and Mary both said about working with librarians, involving librarians in your project, being part of the library, that's a really important part of this position. So if you don't talk about how you're going to work with librarians, work with libraries' resources, and they're not going to be interested in your project. I don't think. I don't mean to speak for them, but that's been my sense, right? That they want you to involve librarians, know the library, be aware of what you can bring to it as a site on campus. That being said, don't expect librarians to do all your work for you. Be clear about what you're willing to work to learn, and how that will overlap what librarians know with what they know, how you can learn together. And also be honest about what you don't know. I basically applied saying I have this group of sources that I'm transcribing. I want to do something with them. This is how I'm going to learn what I need to know, but I don't know this stuff yet. Just be honest about where you are in this process. And I think they'll appreciate that honesty. I don't know that I can look back and say what I would do differently because I had to have the time to learn. So yeah, there were lots of things that I did wrong in my process or that I experimented with and failed, but that's what this position gives you. It gives you the time and resources to try things and fail and try things and succeed. So I don't necessarily say that I would regret anything. Um, uh, I do want to say, two things I guess I would say if you get this position are definitely plan, and do that planning over and over and over again. Maybe even take a project development course at DHSI or something like that. Um, plan short term, plan long term, just constantly be rethinking those goals. I thought I knew how to do project development because I've written books, but it's not at all the same. Um, and also take advantage of all the resources on offer at the library. So I've met librarians who do things I didn't even know they did. Right now, I'm taking a course in Introduction to GIS. So with the Center for Geospatial Analysis, they're part of the library. The Lemon Project is part of the library. Special Collections is an amazing place. So think about all the resources that you didn't even know you needed. And try to you don't need to know all of that for the application, but as you're here, just be in the library, just be open to all the different resources that they have to offer. And again, I'll just reinforce what Lisa said. This isn't a sabbatical. I've worked harder in the past 2.5 years than I have, I think, in my entire career. So just be ready to work. It's totally worth it. It's an amazing position. Mary, I don't know if I've answered all your questions or all the things you wanted me to.
You've done an amazing job. Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you.
Okay. I also want to allow Larry to take a moment or two and talk about his project. He was our second faculty scholar and created an open textbook on statistical modeling. So Larry, here's your opportunity to talk about your project, any pain points, lessons learned, anything you would do differently, or any suggestions you have for people who want to apply.
Great, thanks. Thanks, Mary. So, my goal with the library scholar position was to write an open access textbook, and the genesis for that is in both math majors, statistics majors, and even some system engineering majors. They generally get two courses, and those two courses are a probability course up front, and that's almost always a calculus-based probability class, followed by a mathematical statistics class. And then oftentimes they can only get one other statistics class, and that might be in regression, might be in survival analysis, time series analysis, design of experiments, etc. And so I wanted to write a open access textbook that would cover all of those different areas, which could form a third class. And so basically my time there was writing and researching the various parts of the book and trying to find out the best way to explain them. And it resulted in a PDF copy of the book, and also they allowed me to do a hard copy, and this is the hard copy there, and that's also in the picture that's down below here. But in any case, I worked quite a bit with Rosie Lillenquist. She was the open access person, and Mary, if I have it right, you're in that position right now, right? And Kay Helm also helped out, and she converted the original file, which was in PDF, to a file that was a little more clickable. And also the cover art that you see right there in the picture, that came from Drea George. So there were all kinds of people in the library that were helpful. I think one thing, and I'm echoing probably what Jenny said, which is you really get to know the librarians, which was really just a wonderful thing. I didn't know about special collections and content services, circulation, and all the different moving parts of the library. So it was really fun to get to know the librarians. They're a fantastic group of people. And so that was a highlight. In terms of how I do it over again, if I had to do so, I don't think I really have anything that I have on that. I think it was fairly seamless, and it was just sitting down and banging away at the keyboard. And I think the last thing I'd say is apply. This is just a once in a career thing. If you ask me what was the best thing that happened in all the years I've been here at William & Mary, and that's more than 30 years, it would be the Library Scholar. So it's a fantastic opportunity. I encourage you all to apply.
Larry, that is the sweetest thing I've heard. Thank you. Mary, do you feel like you can talk about this, or would you like me to talk about this
Um,
one?
if you want to talk about this one, that would be fantastic.
Sure. Our first library scholar worked on a Cuban media art archive here in the library. So that is like a digital display that includes translation, transcription, images online. We've talked a lot about like what we expect of the scholar, things like that. What I haven't said is what the people in the library have gained from having faculty scholars here. So I'll use this time to talk about that a little bit too. So this the Cuban Media Art Archive, we actually did a trip to Cuba where the faculty member Anne-Marie Stock took students as part of a course, but also a librarian and our web developer or our exhibits coordinator, I think, went to Cuba with them, which I'm still really jealous about. Uh, and they were able to gain um, private support for this project that continues to this day. So this is an interesting project that they worked on. I'll say the other things that we've gained from our two previous speakers, we had the trip to Cuba. Larry, when he was here, taught workshops to librarians and library staff on R. So we all learned about R. We learned more about the CAMS, computational and applied mathematics and statistics, and survival and regression analysis. Like I actually understand his research now. A lot of us, well, I won't say I understand fully, but we understand more about his program, the department he works in, and what his students learn. And with Jenny, we've done a lot of events. We've brought in speakers. We've all done some cool transcription as we work through things. So every time we do a project, people in the library learn from the project, and hopefully that contributes to the work that we do going forward. But it is really a give and take, and that's really what we want from this, is that we all get the chance to learn from each other. So I'm going to, oopsie, turn this back over to Mary to talk a little bit more about the application process.
Yes. So we have an online application form that you can complete. We have one, two, is that six? That's five. Five questions in particular we'd like you to respond to, reflect on in the application, and also include your CV. So we've provided the short URL on the slide, but then Tammy has just thrown the call for proposals, which provides a link to this into the chat. We encourage you to talk with librarians, talk with archivists. You can reach out to me, have conversations with people in the library about your ideas, so that you have a chance to like speak it out, think through it, and then also get some feedback from us about like, is this something we can partner with? Is this something that like, how can we work with you on that before you submit your applications? One thing that I will say is we have learned a lot also with how to like work with our faculty scholars. So we are excited to continue to grow and learn and everything with everybody. So in terms of the selection process, we have a committee here within the library that will be reviewing the applications that we receive. So it will comprise of Lisa, um, our interim dean, the interim associate dean, Candace Benji Small, myself, the head of digital infrastructure applications and digitization, that's Justin Dalton, and then Tammy Back, our senior director of communications and engagement, as well as Jay, who is part of special collections. So we're going to invite all of our finalists to have an interview with us and talk through their project a little bit more. But really successful applications are going to have a clear connection to the library's goals and values. They're going to have a good defined timeline. We recognize that timelines are wiggly wobbly sometimes, but like think through, like Jenny mentioned, the short and long term goals and like how you kind of want to plan out the project, and we'll go from there. And then also having a good well-developed plan for how you would collaborate with librarians and archivists. This could be, I'm going to be using materials from special collections. It could be, I'm going to be working closely with this librarian to build like an open textbook or some kind of pedagogical resource, things like that. So if you have questions, we're going to open this up for Q&A. We have plenty of time, but then you can also feel free to email me any of those questions. You can also, of course, ask anybody at the library the question and then they'll feed it back to me. So don't worry about having to remember my email address. We're here to help funnel questions.
It looks like we have our first question. Gail.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. In attending this meeting, I particularly have in mind models and collaborations with colleagues that I've worked with and encountered at other institutions. There's one that I would like to model that I've met in the UK in Westminster, I think it is in London, Westminster, who has an incredible online digital archive, and then there's another one who has created a GIS using GIS technologies at Pratt. And so my question is, can I build into an application opportunities to spend time with the colleague in London, spend time with the colleague at Pratt, and observe and look at sort of the whatever is the backside of their digital of the what they've done in creating their GIS project and their digital archive. And then there's also a second question that I have, but I'll let you answer the first question.
Sure.
there.
We definitely have funds for travel. But I want to say, like, you don't have to, we want you to learn new things, but you're also not responsible for like doing every bit of programming for whatever you want to do.
Right. But I
So
was thinking,
yes.
oh, sorry to interrupt, but I was
Oh,
just
no,
thinking
go
in
ahead.
terms of collaboration, because this also requires like in terms of using theirs as models in the first stage of the project, so that I know what to bring back to the collaborators at William and Mary, the collaborators at the archive. So
Yeah,
that
I think
travel
there's
aspect.
definitely support to travel
Okay.
and to visit and figure things out. Yes.
Okay, and my second question has to do with the Digital Humanities Institute, because I'm aware of at least three in different parts of the world. There's one in Canada, there's one that they do every year at Oxford, and then there's another one. And so I was wondering, when you said Digital Humanities Institute, you didn't
Got
specify
it.
which one.
So we have been a sponsor, William and Mary, of the Digital Humanities Summer Institute in Canada, which has recently
Okay.
moved.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't say we would preclude you from going to another one to learn something too. That's
Oh,
just
okay.
been our current partnership. We have a
All right,
sponsorship
that's
with.
very helpful. Thank you very much.
Sure. Anybody else want to ask any questions? Thanks, Liz. Yes, Montreal, not Victoria. Yes, Afer.
All right. So, well, thank you for this presentation. It was helpful. My question relates to what you said in terms of expectations for the projects. And one point that you made was that the project should align with William and Mary Library's goals. And I'm just curious how exactly you define those goals, and if like if a project does not fall under any of the subject areas that SWIM is already strong about, like American studies or whatever. Like I'm a historian of pre-modern Middle East, and my project will relate to that area, obviously. So it will be mostly a new area for SWIM, I'm assuming. So are you actually open to expanding the library resources to include new fields, new areas, or
Absolutely.
are you more interested in focusing? Okay, yeah, all right.
Yeah, I think, well, we have written, so this isn't to discourage anybody from your ideas. We would be really excited if anybody wants to use our special collections or things that we actually have. We
Mhm.
understand that a lot of your projects will not be using those things. It would excite us in an extra special way. But we do want to expand what we're doing. We want to expand the scholarship and research and support the scholarship and research for faculty here at William & Mary. So the goals we're talking about are like library goals about open access. We want to make sure these things are things that the library is doing, that the university is interested in supporting in terms of your research. But our goals are a little more about our like mission, vision, values, goals kind of things.
Okay.
So
All
in
right.
terms
Thank
of
you.
subject area, that's not something we want to limit.
All right.
I do want to just add on to this to say that part of the reason I mentioned special collections is it's easier for us with in terms of rights and copyright and permissions and things like that. So that's not to say that you can't use other like I know a lot about your project, so like it would just be a matter of getting the correct permissions, consents, things like that. So that would be something that if you know that you're going to be working with particular groups or using materials from other places, so part of your application to think through is how am I obtaining permissions to use these resources? How am I obtaining consent from individuals to share said resources since everything will be open access?
Right. Yeah. Thank you.
Great.
And
Amy,
Megan wants to add a note. Oh, sorry. I just noticed Megan in the chat wanted to add a note about that.
Yes, so I'm rather confident that our director would want me to share that we also have some limited but available private funds with which we can purchase new materials for the archives. And one of our goals within Special Collections is to diversify our holdings, expand the geography that our holdings touch. So, particularly marginalized communities, minority voices, but also global perspectives. So, certainly, if you are aware of materials that exist that are worthy of adding to the collections for your research and teaching, that would certainly be an asset to your application. But also something that you could discover and work with us on, over time. It doesn't have to be something that you have at the ready.
absolutely. We do want people in this position to be able to help us build our collections in special collections and archives as well as general collections if there's like new areas of interest. And did I lose Amy? Amy had a question.
Yes.
There you are. Sorry.
Thank you. I'm sorry, the camera of my computer is having some problem. But I am working on this project to actually we already started this open access, open source journal. It's academic journal. It's called Journal of Intelligent and Sustainable System. So I am the founding co-chief editor. I'm from business schools. My research area is in supply chain operations management. In the past, I have worked with people in engineering school from Duke University, from other institutions on like research projects, such as like the research project that advanced the military supply chain efficiency. Okay. So when I was working on the project, I realized like there's definitely like the issues we can look at from the business perspective and also from engineering's perspective. So the reason I found this open resource journal is try to promote research articles and not only my research but others' research as well. They're looking at both like a technology part, like AI intelligence part, but also social part, like sustainable issues in supply chain. And we wanted to have scholars or researchers from different areas in economics, in management, in business, in engineering to contribute to the journal and exchange ideas and collaborate. So right now we started, this journal just started to have the first issue, but we are having a lot of problems in publishing to, reach to libraries, reach to people, reach to our audience, and also to have enough number of like reviewers because it is a double blind review. We wanted it to be rigorous. So I know there's a lot of help I need. And also in order for this journal to, really become like influential, we need to follow certain steps and get past a certain, review or ranking system. So I do need a lot of help, but it's not like just my research, but it's a project to promote research of others.
Yeah, well, so a few things first. So we haven't yet had a scholar who was from a school other than arts and sciences. We're not against it, but I would encourage you to talk to your chair and eventually to ensure that it's something that we could work out in terms of being able to get someone to teach the courses while you were working here. But I think in terms of open access, I'll pass this to Mary a little bit to talk about some open access because she can probably consult with you now about some of this.
Yeah, so we are able to host open journals. So we can work with faculty on creating open journals and then getting them like up and running through our platforms. So one thing that is important for the faculty scholar position is the project that they're working on needs to live at William & Mary. So that's not to say that your journal if it's already somewhere else, that's not to say it can't come to William & Mary. So that is something that we can work with you on. Like if you submit the application and we're working with you on this open journal, getting it up and running and so forth, then we can also work with you on having it hosted here at William & Mary. But that would be an important part of the faculty scholar project that they're working on. You can work with other researchers. So I know Jenny has been working with other researchers at different institutions, things like that. So collaboration is definitely very possible across universities. It's just making sure that we're the home for you. And then separately, if you're like, I actually don't really, I want to do this open journal. I don't really need to apply for the faculty scholar position. If anybody's interested in creating an open journal, that is something that like the library can support through our William & Mary Press. So you can also reach out to me about any questions with that, or with if you have any open educational materials that you would like to create. That's something that you don't have to wait for the faculty scholar position to open up. You can actually reach out to me and we can start working on those things
That's great to
whenever
know.
you want to do. Yeah.
Yeah, and we can do that for open textbooks, other open books as well. So you're welcome to apply, but you're not limited to just applying. Like we are doing that stuff all the time in parallel.
Okay.
Tell your friends about that too.
Yeah. But I did talk to our vice dean, and actually he recommended me to apply for this. He said, this will be a good fit. So I think that part is taken care of.
Okay, excellent. Other questions, concerns? You're welcome to reach out to Mary. Mary will be the project manager. She's probably the person best positioned to answer questions, but you can talk to other colleagues in the library. If you have any concerns or questions. Great. I'm glad it's helpful. I know we're kind of short and we've gone over time a little bit. We were trying to make this short for everybody for lunch, or I think we've gone over time. I think we had a schedule for half an hour. But excited to talk to everybody about these things, and tell your friends. We'll have this recording. We're going to post it online. So for those who were not able to attend, yeah. Thanks a lot for your attention. See you later. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank
Bye,
you very
everyone.
much. Yeah.
Tammy, you want to stop the recording?